What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, with week 6 now behind us. It is time to talk through my must-add waiver wire targets for week 7 of the fantasy football season. All of these players are going to be under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. We'll talk about the big ticket items, the priority ads up top, and then we will get deeper and deeper as the video goes if you are really scraping the bottom of the barrel to find some players to stash on your bench or even go into your lineup. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And the first player we are going to talk about here is Luther Burden. I'm going to still talk up Luther Burden, keep a light on for the rookie. And to me, he's the most realistic priority ad possible. Now, the way that this video works is I round up a bunch of names. I put them into priority ads. That is going to be the first 3 to 5 players we talk about here, players that I would put a 10% or higher bid on in my league. Then as we go deeper and we go into just like the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, all the leftovers, these are guys I would go under 10% fab bids on, or just guys that waivers roll through and you grab them for free, or you do like a $0 bid on those guys. And as always, this is me collecting my thoughts here, and then I'm going to do a waiver wire article on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart, where I go 10 to 15 players deep, every position, how much fab I'm bidding on them, and then also some notes as to why I like them or don't like them as much as others. Now, with Luther Burden, again, to me, he's the most realistic guy. We'll talk about in a second, the Kamani Vidals of the world that probably aren't available, but Luther Burden is out here available in 92% of ESPN leagues, and he is somebody that when we look at the rookie receiver report, and this is, I think, a good segue just to fill you guys in on kind of what happened with the rookies last night. This is the rookie receiver report with the rookies that were in last night's game. So Jalen Lane, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. To me, Luther Burden's the one that stuck out. He didn't have like an amazing day, but he did set career highs in routes run with 39% of the routes. He also set a career high with 4 targets in this game. He had 50 plus receiving yards. He had a couple big plays, and he looked the part. Now, on top of that, we have DJ Moore, who is hurt. DJ Moore, apparently, right after the game, he stayed overnight in the D.C. area for precautionary medical attention. We haven't even really gotten any news on what happened, right? Like, he was hurt, then he comes back in, and then he leaves the stadium in an ambulance, and then he stays overnight. So who knows what's going on there, but that could leave the door open for Luther Burden. You also have Olamide Zaccheaus, who's taking routes from Burden, who dropped the ball on a crucial third down. They still won the game, though, so I don't know if that's going to matter a ton. But if we can get any wiggle room, if Luther Burden can ascend here where we get, post by rookie bump. Now he's at 39% of the routes. Can we climb up to 60%? Can we climb up to 75%? And we have a really nice runway here where the Bears are going to get over the next 4 games: New Orleans, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and the Giants. These teams are allowing the 9th most, 2nd most, 10th most, and 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. All 4 of them are cupcake matchups. If we can just get him to ascend in this little pocket, have a true ceiling game where he's not just deep, wide open on a flea flicker, if we can just get some real wide receiver usage here, I think we're really cooking with some gas. Now, I will say these numbers, right? 25% targets per out run, 3+ yards per out run, 74, 75 PFF grade. Those are elite numbers, but this is a very small sample, right? Where he is yet to even run 40% or more of the routes. So I wouldn't say take it with a grain of salt, but I'm not going to say Luther Burden is the next Justin Jefferson. But it's better that he's not putting up, the Jalen Lane stat line, because then it would be like, what are we holding on for? At least he's showing us that there is some promise, there is some potential here. And for me, if you need wide receiver help, right, especially like down the stretch of the season, or you don't have a Rashee Rice to come in here and boost your team, I think Luther Burden can be something like that, where we talk about these rookie wide receivers, what they can do down the stretch. Luther Burden right now is right on track. We're climbing, we're looking good. The wide receiver room is getting banged up. It's that time of the year where players are going to start emerging here. Now, our second priority ad, probably not available in your league, but ESPN claims he's only rostered in 27% of leagues. And I did want to make a note on this. There's going to be people in the comments that are like, Kamani Vidal's not in my league. Look, I make these videos to spread far and wide. We're going to get into deeper running backs in a second. This is, I want to talk to somebody who's in an 8-team or 10-teamer, and then we're going to get deeper for guys in the 10 to 14-teamers. We're trying to cover all our bases here. So Kamani Vidal might not be available in your league, but if he is, he's somebody where you can really put a pretty heavy bid on. RB1 in his first game without Amari and Hampton from Dwayne McFarland here. He had 22 fantasy points this week, 67% of the snaps, 72% of the attempts. Just really good usage across the board, and he is going to be a borderline RB2 moving forward, but Dwayne does make a good point. We just saw this with Michael Carter. Just because we saw Vidal ball out this week doesn't mean it's going to happen next week, but during this stretch of the season where things are tough, he is somebody that you can just plug into your lineup pretty much right away. Then we can talk about Kendrick Bourne, who might be available. He's actually rostered in 37.6% of ESPN leagues out there, but he's averaging 20-plus points per game over his last 2 games. The 49ers are banged up, right? Kittle's supposedly going to be back, but Jawan Jennings has a billion things going on where he says he has, broken ribs and he's got an ankle issue, and Ricky Pearsall is banged up. Like I said, Kittle will be back, but they're dealing with injuries. Kendrick Bourne has been the one constant over the last 2 weeks, and this is now like a pass-heavy 49ers team, and they're actually upping the tempo. They're kind of changing their play style because the running game isn't great. Like, McCaffrey's good. He's a good player, but in terms of between the tackles, he's been really bad, and they've just had to be a kind of up-tempo, pass-heavy offense, which is very rare for these 49ers team, and it gives a huge boost to a guy like Kendrick Bourne, who, as long as any of these guys are hurt, like if Pearsall misses this week or Jennings misses this week, I think you can fire him up as a wide receiver 3 at worst. Then we can talk about Bam Knight. Somebody in your league probably scrambled to the waiver wire and picked him up Sunday morning when the reports came out that Michael Carter wouldn't be the starter. He's maybe available in your league. I wouldn't go crazy, though. This was a nasty split from the Fantasy Life utilization report. You can see pretty much split snaps 50-50 with Michael Carter. Rush attempts slanted towards Knight, but the passing game slanted towards Carter. Knight scores a touchdown. At least the signal points that he has the goal line role, but he's really kind of a desperation RB3 moving forward. And then our last priority ad here would be Tyjae Spears. Tony Pollard apparently kind of on the trade block. I don't know. I'll kind of believe it when I see it with some of these trade rumors, but it is something to be aware of this time of year, is that trades could happen and they could change the landscape. And if Tony Pollard got traded, Tyjae Spears would be a top 25 weekly option. This week from JJ Zacharyson, he did outsnap Tony Pollard, and he ran twice as many routes, but that only ended up giving him 5 carries, 31 yards, 4 catches, 19 yards receiving, and then Tony Pollard had 12 touches in his own right. So it's really a split backfield, but instead of it being Tony Pollard's the guy and Spears is the handcuff, it's now very split, and Pollard could fall off or get traded or get hurt at any moment. And I'll actually add, I would say Tyler Algier is a priority ad too. You gotta remember, these, I write half of this Monday night, and then I finish it in the morning. Tyler Algier will count as a priority ad, even though last night I would have had him with the rest of the running backs. I just don't get it. He's rostered in only 33% of ESPN leagues. I get that it's not super accurate. There's definitely some dead leagues out there, but it's decently accurate enough that Tyler Algier just isn't rostered in enough places. He's had 3 rushing touchdowns this season. He's this weird late game hammer for the Falcons where in any game they've won, he's scored a touchdown and given 10 plus PPR points to his owner in fantasy. But in games where they lose, he's not even really startable. To me, Algier is the quintessential, think of Alexander Madison with Dalvin Cook back in the day. To me, he's maybe the most important handcuff in all of fantasy football, Tyler Algier. Then we can talk about Sean Tucker. Similar deal. He scores a touchdown. He gets a fun matchup next week, I believe, in Detroit with the Buccaneers in a dome. He could maybe score a straight touchdown again like he did in this game. Rachaad White did put the ball on the floor in this previous game. Maybe we see a little bit more of a shift. I'm kind of just using my imagination here, but at the end of the day, Sean Tucker is really just Rachaad White's handcuff until Bucky Irving is back. Then we have Kendre Miller. He's been Kamara's handcuff. He's been mixing in for 10 to 12 touches, and if Kamara gets traded, Kendre Miller goes to the moon. Similar deal with Isaiah Davis. For as long as Braylon Allen is out, Isaiah Davis is getting in the mix. He's getting more receiving work than I would like as a Jets fan and Breece Hall fantasy owner, but it's just what has been happening here. So he's somebody who's going to get 5 to 10 touches per game, and then if Breece Hall was to get traded, he would go to the moon. Though I think that that's very unlikely. I don't want to talk too much about it because who really cares about Breece Hall getting traded, but some people have been running with. He's going to go to the Chiefs. He can go to the Chargers. I hate to do the as the Jets fan thing because I am famously somebody who has made fun of this in the offseason of I don't really care who you're a team of or fan of because you're just going to be a homer. But I just would be shocked if Breece Hall did get traded. This is a team, especially with Aaron Glenn, that's his entire identity is running the football, establishing the run. And now that Braylon Allen is hurt, Breece Hall is his only reliable running back. And this is somebody who is scrambling to win games right now. As crazy, don't get me wrong, I am a nerd. I have spreadsheets. I show you guys spreadsheets. I understand that it's in the Jets' best interest right now to trade away all of their assets and lose the rest of the year. But Aaron Glenn does not see it that way. He is somebody who is trying. He's essentially, the rest of this year is an audition for him to be the Jets' long-term head coach, and I don't think that he's going to trade away pieces that are going to help him do that. Now, maybe Breece Hall gets traded and I look like an idiot, but that's just my 2 cents there. Then we have wide receivers. We talked about Kendrick Bourne already. Then we have Josh Downs. He's probably not available in your league, but if he is, he's had 7 or more targets and 10 or more PPR points in 3 of his last 5 games. He's a boom-bust flex play, but somebody who should be rostered as we get into the heart of bye-week season. Kayshon Boutte, popular waiver wire ad early on in the season, then probably dropped in a bunch of places. He had a great week this week, 20-plus PPR points. I do want to find the exact game log here. He put up 5 catches, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 26 PPR points. He was amazing. But the thing I would say is he only had a 74% route share, not even his highest of the season. And this Patriots team is just rotating everybody. They're getting Demario Douglas in the mix. They're getting Hunter Henry. They're getting Austin Hooper. They're getting even like Kyle Williams and like Matt Collins will run a couple of routes every game. And it makes it so Kayshon Boutte's floor is 0, but he's like a decent boom-bust option attached to Drake May. Then we'll talk about, we talked about Luther Burden at the top. Then we'll talk about Tez Johnson here as somebody that is kind of surging in the rookie receiver report. There's going to be a bunch of players on this screen, but Tez Johnson is there at the bottom. He goes from 27% to 49% to 84% of the routes. That is huge. Igbuka's hurt. Mike Evans is hurt. Chris Godwin is hurt. And Tez Johnson made a great play with, I think it was a game-winning touchdown, 1 catch for 45 yards and a touchdown, though. Only 3 targets in this game. But he is surging and somebody to definitely stash on your bench to see if he can kind of develop and grow his role even more. Then we'll talk about Jalen Coker. We talk about him pretty much every week, but he's due to come back here sooner rather than later. And when he does come back, I do believe that he will make an impact. McMillan is all the Panthers got right now. They're winning games, they're stringing things together, but they need another option in that passing game. And if Jalen Coker can be that, I think that we will see better efficiency for Tet and some production for Jalen Coker. Then we can talk about the Rams receivers, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington. This is like deep leagues. I think Devontae Adams probably benefits more from Puka getting hurt than these 2 guys, but we have Coach Speak Index here. They expect Puka Nacua to miss no more than 1 game. And I'll actually add here, this is a bonus one for guys that aren't just like skipping around and just seeing who's listed. This is a bonus ad for you guys out there. Blake Corum might miss this week. I think if you're in a deep league, Jarquez Hunter is a really good pickup. He was their day 3 pick out of Auburn for the Rams. He had a lot of hype coming out of the Dynasty rookie season, and he's somebody where if Corum can't go this week and Hunter gets promoted to the secondary back, I'd be very curious to see how he does in this game overseas. So Jarquez Hunter is my sneaky ad among the running backs here. You have Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington. Whittington had some really good per route stats for a rookie last year, but he also in this game had a weird diving catch that he dropped on 3rd down. He's an okay player, but he probably looks and plays more like Puka, if that makes sense. Like, he's a bigger receiver that they can definitely move around the formation in a similar fashion, but like we're talking, no one is Puka, and then Tutu is just like his own like super small archetype of receiver, but we've seen Tutu Atwell string together games of him being very productive. After that, we will go to some really deep ads. Jack Besh leapfrogs Dante Thornton in route share. He goes to an 80% route share. Dante Thornton goes down to a 0% route share, but Jack Besh didn't register a single target, so he's really just a stash. We'll see if he can kind of start to produce and make good on his opportunities here. Then we're getting deep here. Zay Jones, if Marvin Harrison's concussion is real and Jacoby Brissett stays in as the starter, there was kind of a rapport there where Zay Johnson had a decent game here. Or Zay Jones, my bad. But you guys remember from like a couple years ago, he was like decent. He had 8 targets in this game, 5 catches, 79 yards. 2024 was not his year, but in 2022, he was actually decent. 2022, he had 80 catches for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. But that's a long time ago for Zay Jones. And then the last one, Allen Lazard. The reports are that he could get traded from the Jets to the Steelers and reunite with Aaron Rodgers. I think that would be kind of interesting for fantasy, just given after DK Metcalf, the Steelers have nothing. But again, I think that the Jets are going to be pretty stubborn in trade talks. We'll see. Then we have the tight ends. You have Michael Mayer. He had 7 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown in this past week's game, 16 PPR points. If Brock Bowers misses time, Michael Mayer is a top 12-ish option in any game that Bowers misses. Then we have Cade Otton. This Bucs receiver room has been banged up all year, right? Like no Godwin, and then like there's been weeks without Evans, and Cade Otton has been somebody I've been waiting for him to produce. And then over the last 2 weeks, he's put up 50-plus receiving yards, and now they go into, again, a dome game in Detroit without Mike Evans, without Godwin, without Ibuka. I think one of these guys between like Cade Otton and Tej Johnson, you could sort of sell me on Sterling Shepard, but he hasn't done anything. Like even in this previous game where there was no Ibuka, Sterling Shepard actually gets outproduced by the random Cameron Johnson guy. Or if you wanted to add Cameron Johnson, you could. He's a year 2 player who had really good production per route in this last game. I would just be stunned if he was a real guy that you're ever starting in fantasy football. But yeah, I mean, Shepard gave you 2 for 51. He has 2 games over 10 PPR points, and like those were 11.9 and 12. So he's just kind of like a low floor, low ceiling type of guy, even if he is one of the Bucs' better receiving options right now. Then we can talk about Harold Fandon. He had a season high in route share, season high in production, season high in everything, but he's still in the Browns. He's still attached to Dylan Gabriel, and a lot of that production came on the back of David Njoku getting hurt. So just something to keep an eye on. But again, like if David Njoku was to get put on IR, or if he was to get traded, then Harold Fandon, huge up arrows. And then in deep leagues, we'll talk about Oronde Gadsden. He had a season high in routes. He had a season high in targets. He looked really good in this game. Yes, a lot of his usage came from Quentin Johnston being hurt, but I think his routes will stick as an every down tight end in this offense. Then we can talk about the quarterbacks here. You have Jackson Dart, who's been the QB8 over the last 3 weeks. On the ground, he's had 10 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. 7 carries for 55 yards, and then 13 carries for 58 yards in the touchdown, which is just nuts rushing production. That's like Josh Allen type stuff. So, 50-plus rushing yards in every single game, a rushing touchdown in 2 out of 3. He's going to give you a really nice floor when you start Jackson Dart. Less owned here, Sam Darnold. He's been the QB8 in points per game since week 2. And then if you're getting deeper than that, you have Aaron Rodgers, who's been passable, and he gets the Cincinnati Bengals this week, who has been a really bad defense in fantasy. Now, I have had this question a bunch of like guys to drop, where I've had a lot of comments of like, Ron, these are all great, but I don't know who to drop for my team. So I'll give you a couple of drops. We have Dylan Sampson. Jerome Ford is crushing him in the passing game role. I don't really see any upside for Sampson. Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant is eating too much into his routes to start Troy Franklin really ever. DJ Giddens, it's now less clear that he's like the main handcuff. We have a lot of like Amir Abdullah kind of working in. Then we have DeMarcado, pretty clear there. He's now RB3, and we have Trey Benson due back later. Tyrone Tracy, this is like if you're in like a shallow league, you can drop Tyrone Tracy. It's pretty clear that this is Cam Scadabo's team. You would need a Scadabo injury for Tracy to be good. So it's like, how bad do you want the handcuff on the Giants? And then also, he would probably just split snaps with Devin Singletary as well. So he's okay. And then Hassan Haskins, I just don't think he's an NFL player. I think that he's really only in the NFL because he played at Michigan with Harbaugh. Like, I just have to be honest. He's been in the league for a few years now, and like every time he gets the ball, he does nothing, like in terms of yards per carry, anything like that. He's just not a good player. I think, Vidal outplays him here. Hampton will be back soon. I just don't know that Haskins will ever be a good start in your lineup. But that is going to do it for us today. Again, I'm going to upload this video and then go right to Google Docs and bang out the waiver wire article on the Patreon. So if you want to know exactly how much fab I'm bidding on all of these players, that'll be available at Patreon or on patreon.com/Ron Stewart. As always, you can find that in the description and the comment section down below. But if you can't support there, just leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm